Hello guys, and welcome back to Strategic Command World War II, World at War with our Axis playthrough. In the last episode we got to December of 1941. Winter is here. I've just arrived outside of Moscow. We've just taken Hawaii, if you exclude Hilo, where there is another American Special Forces just chilling right now along with these fighter jets. We do own all currently except like the entrance port, well, one of them, that leads into Pearl Harbor, meaning shortly we can start actually operating our fleet out of here and actually maybe just doing the reinforcements that we need to do out of here. Some of them are going to be lacking supply. Only one of them is really functional right now. It's probably going to stay that way for a little bit. But I know my fighters and my bombers on my planes, all of this stuff on the carriers could use some reinforcement before getting into any more big shenanigans. I don't think America really has the capability to send anything over here to challenge me navally, but I definitely don't want to leave them with Hilo. It was just the last episode in this turn that I took Hawaii though, so we can't really act in that regard. Let's turn our attention for the beginning of this episode over to the front with the USSR, because that's going to be a fairly consequential thing. We've arrived outside of Moscow, but they've rapidly operated new units into this region, as well as new units down here. There's now a garrison at Rostov. There was no one there a moment ago. I believe this army is newly arrived as well. And it's safe to say that they've probably done this for a lot of towns upcoming. I don't know that Tula had a garrison at it. This town here definitely did not have a garrison at it. I'm not sure where they're pulling these troops from. Maybe partially from the front with the Japanese, with the Soviets. Maybe from, I know they get a lot of free shit around here when the war starts, but yeah. Even though there are a lot of new Soviet defenders over by Moscow, most of them are corps. There's only one army, it's up in the front on a lake, it's just arrived, its readiness and morale is nothing to brag about, and it's right next to an injured panzer tank. Injured, yeah. But it's very vulnerable. Not the tank, the army. I guess partially the tank. Tank can't really reinforce or do anything right now. No one else can quite catch up to where the tank is exactly. There's a corps that can get kind of close, but they have other corps kind of coming from that region, and we need manpower to be able to kind of pad out our defenses. Problem is, the Germans are split. They're split from like here all the way down to here. I've been trying to slowly guide more of them north, as you can see, occasionally bringing in bits, bobs, and other pieces of the Africa Corps, such as this reconnaissance is the most recently arrived thing. And good thing I've been doing that, and that I've been changing my focus. Good thing I have all these Yugoslavians here to assist the Romanians and Bulgarians down here, because as you see, this front is about to start getting even wider than it already was, and around critical locations it's hard to even have the manpower there to do it. The way I see this going is that we essentially besiege Moscow over the winter and probably take it somewhere in the spring, because it's going to be hard to actually make notable progress in that time. I did get the field artillery ready, expecting a potentially long siege, and should be able to get somewhere over there. Not exactly directly up front, but as we see, it can arrive in the region. As of next turn, it can just arrive over here, actually, like just around Vizima. Yeah, so I might just wait for it to be able to arrive around Vizima, because otherwise, you know, it's a fucking arty piece. It can't move very far at all. Well, actually, these ones have mobility. So does the anti-tank. They have mobility. They can move with 3 action points, which, depending on weather conditions and whatnot, can add up. We also have the actual Africa Corps ready to go. Everything here is ready to go. Every remaining German thing, which is good, because we may need the manpower to really overwhelm this front in good time. I'll be playing this with limited resources, but we're still going to make certain attempts here. We're going to want to widen our front here, that's for sure. Supply is going to spread a little bit more. Kalinin is just always going to be a little too far with this idea, potentially. Maybe it'll spread a little bit better as we push up. But this is never going to be a good position to try to get any reinforcements in from. The 3rd Army, as much as I'd love to leave it behind, is going to push up into these woods, up against the enemy forces. There's also a corps on Moscow proper, as we can see. gonna have 5 supply next turn, which is better than nothing. I mainly just want it here to assist with killing the 14th army, which I think would be rather important of a thing to do, because it's the only army over here that I can see right now. A lot of my remaining German MPPs this turn is going to go actually into the von Rundstedt HQ. It's going to get mobility and anti-air defense. Very expensive for an HQ, but we're going to need some mobility to HQ placement over here. And honestly, I could definitely see the value of having even more HQs up here, because if we want to envelop this and push as effectively as possible, we need more HQs. Thankfully, I have 2 more that are going to be swerving up north that all already have their anti-air mobility. Von Bock doesn't, but Von Bock is just going to stay in the back with this defensive force staring down at the Baltic states, because we're not pushing up there. We don't care about that. You think the snow coming up isn't even bad enough? Of course, everything is mud. Not only is it mud, it's raining. Where it's not raining, it's snowing. So this is just a fantastic place to wage war. Let's go ahead and move the Africa Corps tanks forwards toward Tula. See, this 12th garrison definitely has just arrived based on its lack of entrenchment. Let's try to overrun it here with a tank. It's not the most optimal thing to use, but like it's right there. So we have killed the garrison unit there. The 3rd Panzer tanks here can only go up so far, really. There's no operational like rail movement around here yet. Supply has not caught up that far. So we're just going to move the 3rd Panzer tank as far forward along this road as they can get, which is basically to just where the Africa Corps tanks were. This is definitely looking like it's going to spread out and wrap around, which is probably for the best, because we just want to push and envelop as tightly as possible around Moscow. They're going to operate probably more and more units in. If we can surround them and just get them in a big pile, that kind of works for me. I know we want this Rostov enemy to go away. The 6th Yugoslavian Corps is pretty good to push up, just generally, so we'll do that. It can't immediately do any damage to this garrison because it's on the opposite side of the river, unfortunately. However, the 1st Hungarian army is right next to that. It's also an army right here to potentially deal with. Coming this way and then swerving north of the Hungarians would work fine. Clearing Rostov could get the Yugoslavians to assist in kind of surrounding this region. So that seems like a useful task for the army to partake in. We'll try it. Even then, it might not be easy, but let's give it a shot. Probably. I don't think any of our bombers are in range. Yeah, no, and besides, they got to get moving up towards Moscow, the big siege. So let's try with just the army for now, I think. Yes, let's try it. 3 damage dealt, 1 taken, which is fucking dumb, but oh well, it is what it is. The Yugoslavians don't seem to have the odds they need to really do anything. It might be because this unit also has 4 supply and not really enough readiness or morale. 1st Hungarian army could just move right back into its town, amazingly. So we could try to move the Hungarian Corps forward. And voila, what do you know? We have actually just wiped that out, which is good. We can then move the 6th Yugoslavian Corps in without taking any losses at all. Move the Hungarian 1st Corps back into Stalino, so that they're both just on these important and supplied, generally, locations. And the Yugoslavians will kind of secure this, so the Hungarians can regroup and move this way. We also have this other Hungarian army, which could use a little bit of regrouping of its own. A lot of things are going to be moving very slowly this turn. The Slovakian Corps is just going to move north. This Corps is just going to move northeast. Von Lieb's going to move northeast to help provide supply in this region a little bit better, because it would help us move faster, for one. It would help me get this paratrooper to be able to prepare, which it can't, so for now it's just going to move out to the road here. And then we can have the Von Kukler HQ move forward. Can't perfectly move forward, given its angle of approach, so we'll just move it as far as we can get, probably. Just towards Konotop, not on it, but towards it. Supply in this region won't be quite as good as a result, but this is kind of in the rear anyway, so it doesn't matter that much theoretically. We'll spend some time just reinforcing things that are all the way down here, because it's not like they can get anywhere anytime right now anyway. Operation mobility is going to become more of an option up at the front soon, so rather than run all these guys up, they could definitely just go somewhere else. We have 1 army going this way. We have this army that will end up over here as well. That's 2 armies. We have 2 armies up front here. We have another army here that could move in kind of towards this direction, meaning this army could come reinforce in this direction as well. I think that's accounting for every army that I have up here on this front. So it's like 2, 2, and 2, and then spreading all the other forces out. Meaning, since we can already kind of just operate up here anyway, we don't need to move forward that quickly, especially because we'll be able to operate up here next turn. Therefore, we'll just take this opportunity to dump some elite reinforcements into an army. That sounds like a smart enough thing to do for me. The second Hungarian army will just reinforce for right now due to the slowness in traffic, let's call it. We can get some elite reinforcements on these bombers. Is that the smartest thing to do? Maybe, maybe not. It will assist in the sieging, and this sieging isn't going to go very fast anytime soon. So, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go ahead and get that. Let's do that. How's supply looking over here? It's going to be fairly decent in this region, if I do say so myself. We'll push these fighters forward, just generally as far as they can get. These are going to kind of cover this southern area. We have 2 for this western area. Kind of going to be some overlap, but that's fine. We got the first Romanian tanks here. We're going to go ahead and reinforce these up to 10. They're not going anywhere for right now. And then we have this stuff to deal with as well. And it kind of has to be dealt with by these guys. So let's try first with the Belgrade Corps. Let's move that forward and do an attack. And just like that, we've outperformed and actually shattered the enemies that were located there, the anti-air that remained. We will go ahead and move the Dravska Corps forward then as well and attack the enemy red fighters on Kerch. But first, we're going to move forward the 5th Romanian Corps so we have a little bit better combat odds, because it does work like that. Yeah, see, you can already see it improving also as it weakens. So that's some decent damage done there. Sevastopol is going to be its own problem. The Romanians are going to take care of that. How are partisans in this region? They are problematic. That medium bomber is accidentally taking care of some of it. Speaking of, we do have some garrisons to deploy. Yeah, yes we do. We will move the one at Metz, maybe. Yeah, the one at Metz will move. Okay, wait, we'll hold off on that. I'm going to operate the Danzig garrison. It's going to go to Cherkasy. So it'll be right next to the Dnieper here, where there is an enemy partisan point to worry about that we are moving past. We will definitely want to move this garrison forward here so it can take control of both of these enemy partisan points. Otherwise, everything on this front looks fine enough. Maikop is going to be a partisan point that we need to deal with, and Rostov, but not this turn exactly, because I'm just going to move the Belgrade Corps back here because they need a chance to do some reinforcing anyway. And Krasnodar should just have 5 supply next turn anyway, so that takes care of that. And the partisan unit at Maikop. So we will take the Frankfurt garrison, move it into Luxembourg. We will deploy these 2 other garrisons, one at Warsaw, one will just go to, I don't know, Lublin or Krakow, just places where they can operate on the railroad from. We do have an incoming need for something like 2 more garrisons up front, maybe 3 depending on if you count Astrakhan up here. We do have 2 more garrisons about to be made, I believe. No, those are the ones that I just deployed. So we're going to have to pay for some more garrisons to keep up with this. We've already bought everything garrison-y for Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania, Turkey, Yugoslavia, you name it. So they're all going to have to be German from now on. Yeah, there's also Italian ones, but I still need Italian ones for some things that haven't even been handled. Like, for example, we have a Bulgarian corps down here, whereas we should just have Italian garrisons. Not to mention we have Italian corps and Bulgarian garrison as well. Yeah, like, we need some Italian garrisons to probably fill in for the Bulgarians so I could just repurpose the Bulgarians somewhere else. That's more just painting a pretty picture, but it would be smart technically if fighting ever were to happen around here. Fighting won't happen around here unless things just get really, really bad, but, you know, we never know. So let's actually just say we go ahead, we make an Italian 6 garrison here. We put that into production. kind of try to increase what we have there so we can replace either this Bulgarian garrison or the core, just kind of freeing up space. I don't want to move anybody off of Athens. We do have this core over here at Kalamata that can be freed up as well. There's a lot to free up in and around Greece. Also kind of around Albania. The Albania core can be freed up if I just put a garrison there. Does Albania need a garrison? No. I'm just trying to, once again, establish healthy habits of protecting capitals of nations before I go into PvP. So I can get this paratrooper right here to prepare to jump, so I will get him to prepare to jump because that will just allow him to move much faster regardless of what the weather is. The third army up front is going to use its blitz attack to try to weaken the enemy Soviet army up here, dealing 4 damage and making it completely run off of where it was. Unfortunately, it ran into a forest, meaning we do way less damage to it now than we otherwise would. It's also on the other side of a river. That's another part of it. So maybe continuing the attack would not be the smartest idea. It was never in bombing range, in case you were curious. Like, never could I have hit that with a bomber. Something has to maintain this town. So I guess that's going to be this tank is what's going to do that until something else can get up there. So we'll take the first army. We're going to move it up down the road because we want these 2 armies showing their force just right here. They're very important. Don't really have anyone set in terms of armies to flank around the side here, but I don't know that we're going to be doing a whole lot of that. I'm trying to base this based upon where rivers are, like 2, 2, 2. It's kind of how I envision it. If anything's going to flank, it might be paratroopers and tanks. But tanks are also probably going to be involved in the pushing. I very badly want to just take this tank and go snipe Tula with it, because moving up here isn't as good of an option yet, especially while we wait for these HQs to catch up and all the other units that are coming on. I have so many units, I just have to figure out how to properly spread them, is kind of the main thing here. Supply in this region is poor, movement capabilities are not the greatest. We will just reinforce, I think, maybe? It's like it's 2 to move along a field where it normally wouldn't be. I could just force march to kind of get past that. But this unit does need to get its strength up anyway, so let's just reinforce the 4th Army to being a little bit more prepared. We will reinforce these tactical bombers up to max as well. Africa tactical bombers are not only just ready to, well, bomb, but they're also like reinforced and everything. So we'll probably move them somewhere a little off the road. We don't want to get stuck on the road, but we want to move up as far as we can to where the supply is most optimal for us at the moment, which would be somewhere like in this field right here. So the Africa tactical bomber is going to move forward up there. We're going to need more cores up north, so we're going to probably redirect this 30th Corps up here to go north. If we force march it, it can get much further, and it is a core. It's mostly here for maneuvering, not so much anything else. But there's just so many things in my way. We'll just take the 30th Corps. We're going to force march it just south of this HQ of Rommel. And then we'll end up reinforcing them probably next turn. They'll be in a good position to do that. And that will also allow them to get their readiness and morale back and have covered more ground in less time than they otherwise would have been able to do. Now, this one can't really go anywhere too fast. It's only able to move like that much. So it will move about that much. Got 2 cores kind of going to be over here. I see this one and maybe this one ending up around here. This is excluding getting the Africa Corps involved, right? And then there's like these 2 to kind of cover this right side. And then separate to the paratroopers, there's also 2 more down here. So if you include the paratrooper 1, we could just throw, or I'm sorry, the Africa Corps, we could throw 1, 2, 3, so there's 3 cores kind of to each front. Although I don't even know if we would need 3 in the center just due to the way this front is shaped. The cores might all just go out, so it's like 6 and 6 by the end to kind of flank around with their mobility and hold certain points while the armies just kind of gang up all in one region. That sounds probably a lot more realistic now that I'm saying it out loud and thinking about it, which means I should probably just send the 2nd Corps north right now instead of waiting. But the Africa reconnaissance is going to move up here and kind of just reinforce this region, get up to the front. It'll have some okay supply, and it can kind of exist to shift in and cover for this tank, which we really do want to get resupplied at some point. In that case, I will just force march the 2nd Corps down the road here, so we'll have 3 corps up here for the time being, and then 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, god, my terrible math is really not adding up. It's more like we have 9 corps, and so it's going to be more like 5 and 4 than whatever the hell I'm talking about. We already have the recon up here, so we can send like 4 up here and then 5 down here. So we already have 3. We have 1. Where's another one? We have 2. We have 3. And then this is 4. And then the other 5 can just kind of branch out this way, because I feel like that'd be more useful for them anyway. And then maybe we redirect the Bulgarian Corps up there to just work with the German HQs. Lacking a Bulgarian HQ for the time being. We'll see. I could just like make other units. It's also the paratroopers that are going to be involved. It doesn't have to be perfectly even. We might be able to also just free up one of these guys at some point as well, and then just shift him somewhere. But we have a recon up here. We don't have a recon down here. Recon probably would have been way more useful down here, but I'm just kind of shifting and organizing this as we go, to be completely honest. So the armies are going to line up front, though. I know that. So like 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 3, 4, and then 5, 6. 5, 6. So this one has a date this way. It doesn't have supply to force march, so it's just going to take a forward step. We're going to do the same thing with the 1st Corps, just a nice little forward step. I will send the second Romanian army forward. Can't do much without a prepared attack right now. This major fortress is going to be a major pain in my ass, is what it's going to fucking be. They have 12 supply here. 2 ports. Ideally, what we need to just have eventually is 2 armies right next to this place with prepared attacks, because this corps is not upgraded with infantry weapons, and it can never be upgraded with infantry weapons. It's just not possible. And then with correct weather conditions and just having this place be surrounded, maybe if we can get down here as well, 3 surrounding units is like max combat bonus. We could hopefully accomplish something there. We don't have any bombers to assist, but just by having it fully surrounded, we might be able to just make some headway with just the Romanians by themselves. I'm going to get the Bosanska Corps here to actually just move back. It can't force march or anything, but the Bidaliska Corps can, to go take its place, because it's fully upgraded, fully reinforced. The Bosanska Corps needs to be reinforced and upgraded, so next turn we could get it back to Grozny and do that for it. I say next turn because it's not going to have enough supply here next turn, probably, because I'm going to move this HQ down the road towards Krasnodar and Maikop. So that's going to change the supply situation around here dramatically. Yeah, dramatically. So we're also going to take the 1st Yugoslavian army, move it over here. We're going to have 1 Yugoslavian unit just kind of stay over here for now as kind of a base. We're going to have the Yugoslavians kind of form up over here and then eventually push down this side towards Stalingrad, and then maybe like meet up kind of here, operate in and around the river, go to try to take Stalingrad by themselves. The Hungarians are going to push this way up west of Stalingrad and I guess help from that front, and then they'll just kind of move together, the Yugoslavians and the Romanians, or sorry, the Hungarians. The Romanians are going to focus on Sevastopol and just generally Crimea until that situation kind of figures itself out. Dude, we're advancing so fast, not only are our supplies not keeping up, we just don't have enough garrisons. This advance is too quick. It's too quick for my ability to move things. But thankfully, I went ahead and made garrisons at just all these capitals in some instances where I don't need them. So moving those off would be easy and a thankfully present reserve. I guess for now, I can just take these panzer tanks and use them to secure Tula so that they don't get anyone in there too quickly or anything like that. I'll just divert the 3rd Panzer tanks up north in the meantime and just have these 2, Africa and 4th, head this way. Either way should bring generally the same results. These tactical bombers, not really sure what to do with. They don't have the range where they are right now. They kind of need to move up. The front's kind of jam-fucking-packed right now, however. Not really sure how to free up space there currently, especially given the supply situation up here, which is slowly improving, but probably not going to improve too much. given that we're operating out of a settlement up here with Rommel, and he's probably going to move up even further. We'll move the Luftwaffe fighters back a touch. I think I'll move these tactical bombers up a touch onto the road where they can have generally decent supply and be in a formation here. That will allow, theoretically, both of the bombers to attack this front and start making some headway for us next turn. Now that most movements on that front are done, let's take a look at where we can move some of these other units. So, we do have the artillery, which can move up. I think getting it operating now is fine. It has mobility. That can help it. Get it generally up towards the front. It has to operate eventually, you know. The anti-tank, really, I have no idea where this shit's going to be useful. Somewhere more locked down as more of a defensive unit, such as up here probably. So we'll go ahead and we'll send that somewhere around here. Maybe just like over here and then just have it trail along in the road or something. Kind of take a position here and just move forward as a defensive fixture. We haven't seen any more Soviet tanks, so I don't know if they're really going to come up. We have our own tanks pretty much prepared just in case. This is really going to be treated like more of a defensive core than anything. So let's kind of treat it like that and just send it like right along this road for right now. And then we have the actual Africa Corps, which has to go. Let me do this counting again real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if this is like 5, right? If this one just goes east. So in which case the 1, 2, 3 up here, 4, and then this could count as 5. Like I'm counting the recon. 5 could count for this, so we can just send this up here. Make a gigantic, nice little traffic jam there. Some more units reinforcing the front. I think that looks pretty good, pretty nice. I don't know where the hell the enemy ships here and like the aircraft carrier and whatnot went, but I think the Romanians deserve to have their plane back. I don't want to operate it because 65 MPPs, so we're just gonna fly it. And so let's just send it up to Ruse for now. Romanians aren't that far away. It doesn't have to go that far. They're not really at too much risk at the moment anyway. I think that the Hungarians deserve to have their own aircraft cover as well, just in case the Soviets redirect any bombers or anything towards where the Hungarians are. It can also help to cover the Yugoslavians, some mixture of the Romanian and Hungarian air, while all the Germans are kind of just teaming up together. So we're going to go ahead and purchase that. That's going to drain almost the rest of my MPPs. Emphasis on almost because there is still enough remaining to potentially purchase a garrison, or I've been looking at these upgrades for these units here, but they haven't been doing a whole lot recently. Involving them in the front involves upgrading, retrofitting, and moving them, so I don't feel like doing that. They're doing enough right here. Their ability to fight naval units is fine enough. The main thing lacking is range, which they don't need, and fighter coverage, which I mean is good, I guess, but not as important when all the enemy carriers are sailing into the Atlantic and getting knocked the fuck out. So for now, I'm just going to treat it like these planes don't exist, and we are going to go ahead and purchase another garrison. Let's go with the Swinemund garrison. Let's go ahead and purchase that. That's the last like special named one. That's going to end up on the front at some point. It's all we can afford with the Germans. Germans and kind of both the Italians have spent everything that they can spend. I eventually want to put on these arty pieces some anti-air, and eventually, I mean, if we do get to the point of risking suffering an invasion of Normandy, we'd want to move corps and stuff over here, but I wholly think that we can avoid that with this strategy that we're currently undertaking. We do have 2 units to deploy as Japan, including the 15th garrison. Garrisons are sorely needed in Japan, and the Yamato battleship, the quote-unquote best battleship. It'll never be sunk. Put all your eggs in one basket. See how that goes for you. Well, we did it. We have it. It's here. Let's go ahead and deploy that just off of Tokyo. It's impressive. It spawns with like 12 strength. It spawns with 2 whole XP points. That's pretty fucking crazy. All that remains left to do this turn is to handle Japan. I believe everything else is accounted for, but we're also at a good stopping point for this episode. So we'll finish up this turn. Oh my god, look at all these convoys. In the next episode. Hope you guys are enjoying how this is going so far. We're getting closer and closer to our goals. We're literally at the doorsteps of Cairo and Moscow and potentially taking down the 2 things remaining for me to take down in this campaign to technically get the surrender to win it. And so that means there's not an insane amount left, theoretically. But for now, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.